Williams, upstairs to the right music channel. The Wednesday night hump is here. Thank you so much for showing up, for taking the time to tune in, as always, here on Wednesday nights when we get together, talk about stuff. Let me expand my screen out here. I'm trying to get really sophisticated and have my notes on the screen instead of the notebook. I said, why do you have a notebook when you just write it on the screen? You're always looking at the screen anyway. So yeah, I advance on with my technology here on the channel. Yay me. How is everybody out there this week? I hope you are fine. Whether you're going to watch this in the live stream or you're going to watch this in the rerun, I want to always start out by letting you know that I do appreciate you taking the time to do so. Time is a very valuable commodity, and spending a little bit of yours with me is really greatly, greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for that. Guys, I'm gonna admit that I'm keeping my head turned because I have the worst allergy going on. This eye is really kind of puffy today. The doctor says it should go away by the morning, but I'm looking like, that guy in South Park, like, I know where the runestones are. Runestones. Hey, Mike, hope all is well and the weather is beautiful there as it is here in Ontario, Canada. Hope everybody's doing well. Ben, we are doing fine here. The weather is kind of funny here. We had a windstorm that came through suddenly yesterday that the winds were like typhoon type winds and completely rearranged my deck furniture. And there was nothing that I could do because if I went out there, I'd have been rearranged with it. So we've had some weird weather here in the Netherlands actually the last few days. Um, got a little bit of an allergy today, so I'm gonna keep my head turned this way so I don't look like Quasimodo to you guys. But again, the doctor said it should be gone by the morning. Uh, Not quite sure what it is, but it's probably some kind of allergy. But there is that. I can still see out of this one. This one not so much. But I didn't want to not come on tonight and talk to you guys, say hello to everybody, and share a few thoughts with you as usual. While we're waiting for more people to show up in the live stream, I shall chat a bit. I got announcement from the delivery service today that the guitars will be delivered here to Upstairs to Right Music Channel Studio tomorrow. And yay, I couldn't be more excited about it. And that means there is an unboxing video coming up this week that will coincide with that. So I'm really excited to unbox this. Get the first, hoping that they're, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that they're all in one piece. They have been so far. Again, my agent in Japan, he really excels in packing. He's gotten to the point where, honestly speaking, he's pretty good. So I think that this will be no different this time. So I'm looking forward to that. So unboxing this week, again, we have ourselves a rare guitar coming through tomorrow. We've got a 1984, 85-ish Yamaha Lord Player 400. And this is another, again, this is not a veneer top. This is a solid top, solid maple top, solid mahogany body and neck. Alnico 2, no, Alnico 5 pickups. So pretty sweet deal. I'm really looking forward to seeing that because those don't come along. And in the condition this one is in, pretty good condition considering its age. I'm really happy that I was able to track it down. Looking forward to have it in my hands. Always beats a bird. What does that say? A bird in the hand beats two in the bush, or the internet. Let me see how my eye is looking on here on my screen. Not so bad. And what else? And I got another plate. I have collected just about every style of configuration that you could have for a Strat. I've got HH, I've got HSH, and I've got H. I've got preparation H. So this one came through today. I'm really gonna have to find a spot. They're starting to pile up, and I'm actually thinking about going this direction with my Strat build. Um, this would probably be something that interests me more than the HH configuration. Um, and of course, this is it's looking like a ceramic pickup here. No, it is not. This is actually an Alnico magnet. Wow, it's actually wrapped. So I don't know what Alnico this is. It's just one of those cheap, Etsy type buys. But not Etsy, sorry, eBay type buys. But I saw it and it was interesting to me, so I picked it up. Yeah, that is an Alnico. So it's not a ceramic magnet in this one. So, but anyway, I do have a Burstbucker 3 that I'd like to put there. I've got a Burstbucker set that's just sitting there gathering dust, as well as another set of Al Nickel 3 pickups, dry Z copies that are sitting here gathering dust. And I think maybe the Burstbucker may be the way to go instead of the dry Z with this build. So this came in. So this is my project that I'm working on. I find it interesting that it's just a volume. There's no tone and volume, um, and that's okay. That's why I thought maybe the Burstbucker 3 would be better because wide open without any kind of tone chasing with it. It's actually not a really bad sounding pickup. So anyway, that is that. That came in today in the mail, and I've got three, three different career configurations there. So I'll have to in the future come up with two other bodies to put those on. As you know, I'm a big believer in gathering stuff, especially if you can find it on sale and find it cheap, or if you're rummaging around in a music store, mom and pop type store, and you come across things like I've come across speakers. I collect 1 by 12 speaker 12-inch speakers, bits and things like this. If you put them in your toolbox, you'll never know when it may come handy. The pickups may be something that you could use for a project or something that you're trying to do. It's always good to have a parts box. I'm actually am really I have decreased my pedals because I used to have a very large pedal collection. I've actually moved that down, and I'm increasing my parts box, pickups, Strat parts, humbuckers, parts, bridges, tail pieces, stuff like that, trim systems, things like that. Just starting to invest into those because again, you never know, and some things come through here. There are some guitars that have the possibility of coming through here that I may continue to do refurbishing on. And having this stuff around is really handy. Just having it and be able to do the work, get it done, boom, and not, you don't have to take it to the Luther. As much as I love Fern, he does encourage me to try to do as much work as I can, and I do appreciate that. But it is good to have the parts around, and not have to order it online or hope that you can find it. So there's that. Frederick Rogers in the house. Welcome, Mr. Rogers. How you doing? How you feeling? I hope you're doing well. Glad to have you here. Yeah. Where are we at here? Well, I guess this is about as much as and by the way, I do want to say, guys, if you are just to finish the initial intro thought, if you are watching this in the rerun, I know it's kind of a pain in the butt to set up a YouTube account in order to subscribe. Um, and like, but you may want to think about it if you haven't done so. But you can hit the like button. So hit the like button if you can. If you do have an account and you don't want to subscribe yet, you're still on the fence, hit the like button. If you have seen enough and you said to yourself, man, this is awesome, why don't you join us and hit the subscribe button? But I do know this is all predicated on having an account. But I do appreciate you guys doing that for me. Frederick Rogers just says, I'm doing okay considering. Yes, brother. Yeah, I hear you. I hope that you recover, my friend. I really do. I hope you get back to 100%. We always take it for granted our health until until our mortality hits us in the face. Um, but when we have our friends to encourage us, it always helps. So I give you my encouragement. Um, I was watching KDH. I like KDH. It's one of those guys that he's one of those thinkers. And I like his take on things. I like people who look at things from different angles. And KDH, if you haven't checked out his channel, certainly is someone who does that. And I was checking out one of his more recent videos where he was talking about our good friend Paul Reed Smith. Now, I don't get into PRS guitars too much on this channel. Um, I saw the first run of or the first or second, back in the 80s at West LA Music. I saw some of the early PRS runs, and I knew Santana played them, which Santana being one of my favorite guitar players, certainly enamored me of the PRS guitars, but I never bought one. I never ever bought one. I have strummed a few of different price points, but never bought one. And KDH was talking about a seminar that Paul Reed Smith was giving where the subject of tone woods came up. Now, I'm not going to hit on that too much tonight because that is not the subject. Well, it's part of the subject, but it's not the crux of the subject tonight. PS guitars are getting too perfect and have no soul is another discussion, a more recent one that Paul Reed Smith has had. And I find his replies just as interesting. And it points towards something else, a bigger issue that we're finding with these guitar makers like him. Uh, and I'll get into that today. But just if you haven't seen it in the K, just to rehash, and shout out to KDH, shout out to KDH on this one. He brought up a seminar that Paul Reed Smith was having, and he was saying people on the internet are saying that they know how to make better guitars than us, guys in their underwear. And it just got more dismissive and nonsensical actually from there. Uh, let's start with it rubbed me the wrong way when I heard that first sentence. People on the internet know how to make better guitars than us. He was basically in a mocking manner, they're in their underwear, he later on says. Um, uh, no, Paul. People don't think that they are better guitar makers than you per se. I think that guitar players and let's say collectors, admirers, have opinions, and it really does depend upon where you fall in the spectrum of that opinion. A player, Jimi Hendrix never sat down with Eric Clapton and had a discussion backstage, one night. and had a discussion about tone woods. It never happened. It never happened with those guys. Again, I always like to go back to where all of this really comes from in order to bring it forward and see how, you know, it's just to spoil the lead here. We're talking more Bernays, we're talking more marketing here. But again, with that analogy of Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton sitting down over tea talking about the tone woods of their guitar and how ridiculous that sounds, I'm sure they talked about this guitar is a good one, this one's a bad one. That conversation would more touch upon the PRS guitars are too perfect and have no soul statement that Paul Reed Smith later on made after this seminar. He did this, and then later on he got into the no soul. But that conversation would have been more closer to that than just the ridiculous thought of those two guys talking about tone woods. It just never happened. You know, the tone wood debate. I'm pretty old, and I've been around real guitarists, like serious cats, since the age of, I would say, 15 or 16 years old. So for well over 40 years, um, I have been in the trenches hearing things about guitars. And tone woods was never, ever, ever, ever a discussion with electric guitars. Acoustic guitars, different subject. Of course, anyway, different subject. The amplification of those guitars, uh, the wood plays a part in that. It's a separate subject. But with electric guitars, Paul Reed Smith was discussing in both of these two discussions, one at a seminar and one with a reporter, I believe. Um, he's talking about electric guitars, and let's go on. So people on the internet know how to make better guitars than us. That kind of really rattled my cage because there's guys like Fern who are guitar makers, and I think he knows about making guitars just as well as. As a matter of fact, he repairs your guitars and fixes them when the headstocks break, when the bridges collapse and things like that. That happen in the natural, life of a guitar, especially if it's gigged hard. So I would say that I myself, with my 40 years of experience with the instruments, would have as much as an educated opinion as a Paul Reed Smith. To be frank, I have not produced and made them, but I have been around them enough, played them, discussed them, and there's many other guys younger than me who had more experience than that. And so, again, that statement, people on the internet know how to make better guitars than us, is first a defensive statement. And second of all, it's totally dismissive. And then they're in their underwear statement. See, he got upset because there was a guy named Jim Lill, and if you guys haven't checked out Jim Lill's video, I'm sure you have. You don't maybe not know his name, but you know his work. He was taking stone and metal and nothing and stringing it over pickups with same gauge strings. Took a guitar, let me take these parts off and put it on different objects and see how that affects the tone. And the overall consensus is that it did not make a difference. Although there's those who would, point to flaws in his methodology, but regardless of which, it's a pretty damn impressive display of trying to put that tone wood thing to rest. But no, Paul Reed Smith took offense to that. So it was kind of, and by the way, to say in their underwear and they know how to make better guitars. And that's not the point of it all. The point is not about how the guitars are made. That encompasses not just the woods, but the electronics and the caps, the pots, the bridges, the the trim system, the pickups. A lot of stuff in there. His opening statement, as I said, was very dismissive, very broad, very one dimensional, uh, and his arguments against it just got worse from there. He starts talking about rubber strings and Vaseline on the guitar, and are you trying to tell me that wouldn't make a difference if you had rubber strings on the guitar and you covered the neck in Vaseline, that wouldn't affect the tone of the pickups? And again, first of all, and you know the rubber strings part, no, that's just not really something that Jim Lill was doing. He was using guitar strings like these. He wasn't using rubber strings. And the second point of Vaseline, what kind of kinky stuff, is Paul Reed Smith into where he's talking about putting Vaseline, on guitar necks? you know, it's like, what are you saying there, man? and just started making statements like that. And it rubbed me the wrong way. And I guess it rubbed KTH the wrong way too. Well, I know it did. If you watch this video, and I suggest you do, you can see it rubbed him the wrong. And but pickups and the amp, and to some degree the string gauge, is what makes a difference. There are guitars out there made out of many things other than wood, and the overall factor that makes it playable or not is this, the pickups in it, how it's wired, string gauge, and what amp you're running it through. Again, in electric guitars. Um, if you make adjustments if you take your pickups and you put them from one guitar to the next, and you'll say, well, these are the same guitars, and I'm not getting the same tone that I got out of this one. It must be the woods are difference between the two of these. Maybe make adjustments in the height of the pickups, because every one is going to be, in other words, there's so many factors, and that's just one, that go into what makes that guitar sound the way it does. That even just the tone wood argument, just on the face of it, even if it was a part of it, it's still part of a bigger whole. And the bigger whole really, actually, again, like I said, is your pickups and your amp. What the wood of the guitar is, actually, if you think about it just like that, just straight ahead, you would see that, would you have a preference. Again, like I said, a lot of these myths and a lot of this Bernays marketing is based around. And by the way, Paul Reed Smith sells guitars, so he might have a vested interest in trying to sell you cheap wood, with a big markup on it. That's the good wood. That's the good tone wood. He might just. I'm just suggesting. But anything outside of that, the sum of the whole, which is something that I always talk about. And the sum of the whole gets to the next statement, that about Paul Reed Smith, remarking to people who told him on the internet that his guitars are too perfect and have no soul. Now, this is getting into the sum of the whole, which again, the Tonewood arguments. No soul, bro. Hey, Siggy Sauer, how are you doing, man? Good to see you, sir. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, no soul. So No soul, bro. Um, you know, glad to have you here, man. Let me read this to you first. What he said by this, meant by or what he said. So this is from Guitar World. This is just today. So this is 8 hours ago. So, you know, Paul has been a busy man. So I'm going to read this to you. I never picked one up and it's never moved me. That's not fair. Paul Reed Smith hits back at critics who say Paul Reed Smith guitars are too perfect and have no soul. Let me stop right there. Who out there ever made the statement that PRS guitars are too perfect? That sounds like a self-serving kind of, statement there, actually. It's a little, it's, oh, man, I want to get a PRS, but, they're just too perfect. Said no one nowhere ever. So just on the face of it, just we haven't gotten past the intro of this article, and it's already hilarious. Everyone does say that they sound the same. Well, that's a different thing. Siggy Sauer says. Siggy Sauer also says, plus they cost way too much for a while. Yeah. So let's continue. Too perfect and have no soul. Well, it's wood and strings and pickups and electronic pieces and wiring and stuff like this that make up the guitar. I do believe the soul comes in from the player. I've never picked up a guitar and said to myself, "Wow, this has got a really good soul," as opposed to this one is the devil's guitar. Take it away. I took two Strat necks and crossed them. Never happened. I've held guitars that, as a personal preference, that felt good to me. That the neck felt good, and when I plugged it in, it had a nice, lovely, ringy, charmy tone to the pickups. Even like the color. Those are the things that I thought, but I never thought there was, oh God, this thing has no soul. No, that's on me. If it doesn't have any soul, it's because the guy playing it has no soul. Guitar engineer designs some of the finest instruments money can buy, but for some, they're just too good. You know, again, we're 30 seconds in on this, and it sounded like an advertorial, like a backhanded, like we're going to do these they sound like insults, but they're really ways of saying how awesome these guitars are. Article. And it made me laugh, when I saw this. It cracked me up. Siggy Sauer, if you watch any 2000s music videos, it's always a PRS and the triple rectifier. Pretty sure it was a sound. Yeah, for Nickelback, I get for somebody. For Carlos Santana, Santana was the only guy who really showed off what that guitar to me could do, what it was possible of. And again, you could have put a ukulele in his hands and it would have sounded soulful because the soul was coming through the artist. So again, that this whole too perfect, self-serving, and have no soul. Too perfect. Nobody ever said to anybody anywhere, and have no soul, self-serving. Come on. It's the artist. It's the guitar player. Let's go on. PRS instruments are widely recognized as some of the finest examples of guitar engineering that money can buy. But for some, who are these some, that meticulous and intricate design approach comes at a slight cost. You poor motherfuckers out there. It's not for you. For some, but not for you. We got the core though. Who wrote this? Oh my God. Namely, in some schools of thought, PRS electric guitars and acoustic guitars are simply too good. And what they make up for in sheer engineering ingenuity, they lose in the intangible soul of the instrument. So the sheer engineering ingenuity is robbing them of their soul. That is the premise of this particular discussion tonight. On guitarworld.com in this article regarding Paul Reed Smith. The sheer engineering ingenuity makes them lose their intangible soul. The intangible soul? The intangible soul? Really? Again, I wanted to read this to you, and and bring this up to you because I always talk about marketing and Bernays and language and the importance and the words that they use too, because the word intangible is used a lot when it comes to discussing pedals and guitars and this, that, and the others. Lacking any credible, real world profit that this particular item would bring to your life, they'll use a word like intangible. You know that when you see words like that you're getting a pickle sandwich with bologna on it. Isn't that what Gene Deal I saw him say today? A pickle sandwich with bologna on it. I love that. That cracked me up. Now, Paul Reed Smith, never fear, guys, never fear. Paul Reed Smith addresses such criticisms in a recent interview with American Music Supply, seemingly argue that such notions have become lazily leveled at his guitars, largely by those who have never played them. So, wait a minute. So, the arguments are coming from people who have never played them. I've never picked one up and it's never moved me. That's not fair because they're too perfect and have no soul. So I didn't pick it up because they're too perfect and have no soul. Nah, man, I'm sorry, dude. I was going to go sweep one of those PRSs up, but I got to the shop and I realized it was just too perfect for me. It was like I was trying to hit on Julia Roberts back in the day. It was just too perfect for me. I felt intimidated. Man, this is some clown world stuff. Really is. It's true that our window is narrower. Okay, every time Paul speaks, and if you get a chance to go to KDH again and check out, because he'll play the spoken part where Paul was speaking, his arguments make no sense. And I'm afraid that in print, it really doesn't clean up very well either. So I'm going to read this to you. I've read it a couple of times, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It is true that our window is narrower, Smith says, in response to the idea that his guitars are too perfect and have no soul. The good one and the bad one are much closer than other brands. What I hope is that we're moving it up so that the window is moving up. I know my eye over here is kind of messed up, but I do believe, again, that is a very confusing read. It doesn't make it's true that our window is narrow. Their window of construction, I guess, in this context. The good one, the good guitar, and the bad guitar are much closer than other brands. What is that? What does that mean? What does that mean? The good ones and the bad ones are much closer than other brands? Is he trying to merge like the best of the and the worst together? Like we, we got some really great ones, we got some really bad ones. If we could just come to that middle ground where they're just so so, then we'd be set. Because that's what that sounds like. The good one and the bad one are much closer than other brands. By the way, a slap at Gibson and Fender and and everybody else there. What I hope is that we're moving it up. Moving what up? The good one and the bad one are much closer than other brands. What I hope is we're moving it up. Moving what up? The window? No, because in the next day we're moving up so the window is moving up. Uh, Again, make that make sense. Make that make sense. Ben Allmark. Unfortunately, I'm all too familiar with clown world stuff. Yeah, buddy. You better get real used to it because we are diving into it, not even knee deep this time. We're going to be up to here. Tall think of welcome evening. Yeah, man, every Wednesday night I'm here, sir, and you are always welcome. I'm glad to see you. You are always welcome here. Paul Reed Smith and some of the gems of wisdom that he throws out there for our benefit, us mere mortals out here who have no idea about the magic behind making guitars. It's far beyond us. We have to, travel to the pits of Mordor in order to learn that knowledge, and we're just not built for that kind of journey, according to Paul Reed Smith. But never fear, we have his nonsensical ass to tell us nonsensical things in order to sell his guitars. Boy, if this doesn't read, I mean, you used to have to pay for this kind of stuff in magazines that I used to work for in Tokyo. I go to a client, hey man, you want me to put that in? You don't have to pay. It's called advertorial. This is an advertorial. It's designed and written to kind of, if you're stupid, to seem like, if something other than that. But this is blatantly an advertorial for PRS guitars. And why is that? Why all of a sudden, why is this push? They're not only making guitars, they're also making amps as well. I have all the PRS amps modeled. I paid for. Um, I used them on unreleased song. Didn't like it. it was a little bit too something for me. But in any case, they're not just doing guitars at PRS. What is his thoughts on amps? I would love to hear that. I'm sure that his amps are also too perfect. But the good ones and the bad ones are getting close together to make that perfect so-so one. Vinny is in the house. Good evening. Vinny's Mr. Henshaw in the house. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for showing up, guys. The ball pit is warming up. And he continues. This is Paul Reed Smith. I picked one up and it didn't move me is a fair comment. But again, I've picked one up and it didn't move me is again pointing towards a personal taste. I've picked up Gibsons that didn't move me. I picked up Fenders that didn't move me. But I didn't walk away and say it didn't move me because it was too perfect. What is that again? It's it's too perfect and have no soul. That never happened. Again, you know, that's just that's so funny to me. That just cracks me up. Just got a Santana SC yesterday. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously it moved you. You know, obviously it had. It wasn't. It was perfect for you. Again, I can turn that around and say it was just perfect for me. This PRS was just perfect for me. You know, the soul thing I can't help you with. That's just if the guitar player doesn't have a soul. I thought that's what the whole thing at the crossroads was about, but maybe my blues history is a little rocky. He continues, I picked one up and it didn't move me is a fair comment, but I never picked one up and it's never moved me. That's not fair. This is an argument for you to run down to your local I know you never picked one up, but run down to your dealership and pick one up. Feel it in your hands. Give it a shot. That's what that again. I've never picked one and it's never moved. Well, that again, that's a subjective thing because there's something about the design. I'm not really into a strat body with humbucker pickups, with a headstock that looks like you know n- you get body dive or something. It'd be just a balance problem. I guess maybe not. Well, certainly not. It's proven it's not. But these are some of the more personal arguments that people could make against PRS. But I don't think that I never picked one up and it's never moved me is a statement that anybody. Again, this is a sale. This is a advertorial. This is a sales commercial. While discussing people's eagerness to dismiss PRS guitars, Smith recalled an exchange he had with an unnamed guitarist. Okay, so here we have the unnamed guitarist, Phineas Henshaw, with a Gibson Les Paul. No matter how much a Gibson costs, you will play on 10 or more before you find one that fits you. That's right. Again, and it's a subjective thing. And it's the same thing with even this. Let's turn that around. I've picked one up and I had to go through 10 of them to find one that I liked. Or moved me, I guess would be, I would understand that statement. But that's true again, like I said, a Fender, a Gibson, everybody else. He's making it seem like, you know, he's he again, the way it's written, the psychology behind it is to make it seem like PRS is some kind of outsider that people won't even consider because, they don't move me, and so I've never picked one up and it's never moved me. Oh, well, that's not fair, Paul Reed Smith says. You should come down to your local music shop and pick one up. Again, a sales pitch. While discussing people's eagerness to dismiss PRS guitars, Smith recalled an exchange he had with an unnamed guitarist who was less than pleased with the idea of the PRS Silver Sky. Well, why that particular model? Then he says that rock star ended up buying one and loves it. Who? Why? What made him love it? And said, you called it a fart. And I said, well, you used to call it a fart in a spacesuit. And he goes, I was wrong. End of article. Mythical guitar player. This was a conversation that Paul Reed Smith had in his own head. He was sitting there, yeah, yeah. See, you were wrong about these. See, you were wrong, yeah. I know he knows rock stars, obviously, and they come and see him, but it's just that rock star ended up buying one and loves it, even though he called it a fart in a spacesuit earlier. See, if I'm going to go so far as to creatively describe a guitar as a fart in a spacesuit, I'm not later on going to be seen rocking it. So it just, again, like I said, I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with Paul. Vid coming up soon on the Amazon Squire P base soon. I really am looking forward to seeing that, sir. It does fit you. PRS is different, Phineas says. The same model. Most of them play exactly the same, considering what you pay for PRS. Yeah, again, and none of this is, if maybe the have no soul aspect is pointing towards that argument that they all sound the same. Joe Bonamassa hates Well, he doesn't hate, but um, he doesn't like super distortions because he says no matter what guitar you put a super distortion in, the guitar sounds like a super distortion guitar, which again would point to the Tonewood argument. Joe Bonamassa just said it in that statement against super distortions. You take super distortions, he said, and put them in any guitar, it'll make that guitar sound just like the super distortions. You can't, they'll sound like super distortions. The pickups, I mean, will sound like super distortions. And again, that throws the Tonewood argument. It's weird. This Tonewood argument. It really is weird, and it's only brought up. It's brought up by people whose vested interest is to make money off of it. You ever notice that? Because you know, it's in Paul Reed Smith. I never really checked him. Yep, super distortions ruin individually. As you know, I love super distortions, so I have a fond spot in my heart for them. I don't judge them so harshly as Joe Bonamassa does. I think that if you listen to my song on the Asanoki Ants in the Pantry album, Belly Dancer, again, like I said, the guitar solo on that, I believe, is Super Distortions. So, Les Paul with Super Distortions in it. So, as I seem to recall, as I flip through the mental liner notes in my head. But Paul Reed Smith, I never really checked him too hard, and some of the things I've been reading in the last day or so, preparing for this live stream, and looking at him, um, the man is good at building guitars. There's no doubt about that. But his ability to make coherent arguments is pretty poor, based on the examples that I've seen. And it every time he opens his mouth, it comes across as being self-serving and an advertorial. And nobody thinks of PRS guitars the way he would like to frame them, as being some kind of outsider looking in. No, quite to the contrary. They're in the big boys. You know, when you got your guitar being featured on the Super Bowl, and there are articles written about the guitar featured in the Super Bowl, then you pretty much for old hit prime time. And most people have picked up your guitars, they have picked them up, they have played them, and they've made their decision. I know I have. It's not for me, but I love them, which is not so. I'm not against them, but it's just not something. There's so many others that at this point I'm interested in before I bought a PRS, and that's just how it is. Had a guitar with super distortions on them. They sound good, but damn, yeah, you gotta get into your Randy Rhodes mode, man, if you want to get into super distortions. Interesting enough, Paul compares his guitars to violin. Yeah, I heard that too. He said that in that KDH thing. He was talking about violins, and I was like, "Come on, dude! Maybe too much glue. Maybe too much glue when you're setting those necks, man. Maybe sniffing the glue a little too hard, and you're not coming across as some kind of sage. You're really coming across as a dick, and I think that in this day and age, we as consumers have to vote with our wallets. And if you start pushing this too hard, people are going to start voting with their wallets. They're going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I did dig what you got, but much like a lot of your artists, I'm going to move on to somebody else. You know, Santana doesn't play PRS anymore. A lot of the John Mayer does it. I'm just saying, pointing it out, throwing it out there. In my opinion, that Paul lost a couple of notches. Yeah, me too. Me too, Phineas. Dig that. It just dropped because then just this article that I read. This is an advertorial. Tries to, sound like, oh, woe is me, but all it is self-serving. And you couple that back to back with KDH's video, where he's basically saying guys like Phil, who took the time, the energy, the money, and the intellect in order to put these examples together, so that the Tonewood argument is bullshit. Which, by the way, again, I point out that Paul, Joe Bonamosa's statement about super distortions throws that out the window without Phil even having to do that work. But anyway, and to describe Phil as being somebody who a guy. I'm sorry, Jim Lil, being Jim, being a guy in his underwear. You know, and so yeah, a couple of notches indeed. A couple of notches indeed. And again, we are moving into times where things are tight. I'm interested in Asia. My business deals and moves in and out of Asia. So I'm constantly keeping my eye on things that are going on there. Um, and of course, the States as well. And I saw something the other day where somebody in the States, went to the supermarket, and a brisket was somewhere in the neighborhood of $119, like Costco or someplace like that. And I my jaw dropped, and the Happy Meal at McDonald's is like $20. Yeah, because they raised the minimum wage to $20. They're like, yeah, that's $20. Thanks. Okay, okay, Jim. Here's your pay. Here's your pay for the last hour. See how that works? How can a business sustain that? And you'll see the end of fast food businesses as a result, just like you've seen the end of Red Lobster, of course, as a chain that also went out in the States as well. That was also in Japan as well. I wonder if those Japanese franchises, they were independent. I wonder if those will keep on. Japan will be the last place in the world you can go to a Red Lobster. Konnichiwa. But all of that we're seeing. Sam Ash is gone. The Guitar Center is trying to revamp themselves as being the Gibson Garage, and it's going to fail miserably because that is not that. You need to start out as the Gibson Garage, or you can start out as the Guitar Center, and we're not going to equate the two. It's just not going to happen. But all of these things, the brisket, the McDonald's, the Sam Ash, all of these things points towards people just not having the money. And PRS sells very expensive guitars. So, reading the tea leaves, Mr. Paul Reed Smith is going out there trying to drum up some business for himself. And using the veneer of an insult and misdirection and and really one-dimensional thinking is trying to sell you something. And there's a lot of Paul Reed Smiths out there in our sector who are trying to sell you something. Um, Boy, I thought that new Tone X pedals was supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread. Boy, I haven't really heard a whole lot about it since. It was that big push. They're available in the stores now. You can now buy them. I haven't heard a lot of people coming back and saying, "Hey, you know what? You know, a lot of people out there selling us a lot of things, and the common consumer, when you're faced with that $20 Big Mac meal and a PRS guitar, you know, I'm just saying. Jim Lill put out a video where he debunked Paul's Tonewood argument. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And Paul, in response back, said, "People on the internet know how to make better guitars than us, guys in their underwear." That was his, Then he starts talking about rubber strings and Vaseline on the neck, and he starts making all these nonsensical arguments that have nothing to do with what Jim was pointing out. Jim made a guitar that was made of a 2x4. So, and a lot of other things as well. So, Phineas says, "Yeah, I saw that. Yeah." So, what I'm saying to you is you can go from being a respected guitar maker to a snake oil salesman real fast. And I think that Paul Reed Smith is really, 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 really riding that line. Not that he doesn't give a shit. Guys like that don't. They tend not to until they don't, like OCD pedals. He didn't give a shit until he didn't, and then he's gone. Dewey, hey sir, welcome. How you doing? Welcome to the party, man. Just ragging on Paul Reed Smith a little bit because he's given out two examples in the last short period of time where he has got me interested in him, and and, and you know, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm really not, and it makes me less interested in PRS guitars, to be frank with you. Not the It has nothing to do with the guitar itself. It's actually the guitar maker, the guy selling them. Paul has lost sight that the guitar is made for the player, not the audience, right? And he was talking to an audience of people, and he asked, "Anybody in this audience play guitar?" And nobody raised their hand. So who the hell were these people that he was having this Tonewood discussion with? Because had no idea, so they weren't going to raise their hand and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, but that wasn't going to happen." And so who was that for? That discussion that KDH was pointing out. Who's that for? Who bono? Always ask yourself. I found that asking that question, really, really cuts through a lot of bullshit in life. Who benefits? Who benefits? And yes, I do believe he has lost sight. PS guitars are too perfect and have no soul. Boy, that just absolutely cracks me up beyond words. That is just hilarious. PRS guitars are just too perfect and have no soul. Wow, what a diaper fool that is. What an absolute complete turd burger. And again, like I said, these advertorials, guitar, I like reading Guitar Player magazine, Guitar World magazine, and Guitar Player. I enjoy reading them, but but some of this stuff in here, some of these pieces they have in here, really, they're they they're not really. They are advertorials. I know about that because I used to be in that business. And when I was working for Tokyo Day and Night, and then later on a few other magazines in Japan when I took my hiatus from working in the studio. Because for God's sake, that was my major. English was my major in college. I put it to some use, I figured. But we took in a lot of avatars. As a matter of fact, we got to the point where we stopped taking them in. And I know avatarials, and this is one of them. Maddie Two Hats popping in. Glad to have you pop in and say hello, Maddie. Hello, sir. Ziggy Sour, pretty sweet. You got to see the Japan guitar market firsthand. Yeah. Yes, I did. Yeah. Dewey says, yeah, Paul Reed Smith, his whole business model is around nice tops, so he definitely has an interest and tone wood. Yeah, yeah. You know, he he does believe in what. Yeah, he believes it. Whether he believes it or not, his wallet believes it. His accountant believes it. So he's gonna try to sell you on it. And again, like I said, it's to his benefit to sell you, pieces of wood with big markups on them, because this is the correct wood as opposed to that one. And my interest in PRS really would not be. I couldn't tell you jack about PRS humbuckers. I really couldn't. I have no opinion of them. We talk about burst buckers, we talk about T tops, we talk about dry Z's, which are Japanese pickups. We talk about a great, but I never heard great discussions about PRS pickups. Do people buy PRS guitars and then put in a set of humbuckers from like a Busbucker 2 or 3 or something like that, or something like that? Are they good? I strummed them enough, but not enough to be able to make that kind of statement. I've never bonded with the PRS, Mickey says. Closest I ever came was an SC with P90s. Yeah, yeah, I played an SC with P90s too. Where was that? Was that in Bangkok? Yeah, I played in one place where I was. I agree with that. And I kind of starting to find out I like P90s. Anyway, grassroots Les Pauls are like PRS when it comes to consistently. Only thing that you can buy, the only things you can buy that brand in Japan. Yeah, grassroots. Yeah, grassroots are great. You know, uh, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Yeah, I like P9. I'm starting to, that 1998 Korean made Simic, is it Simic made gold top P90 guitar that I have for sale. I'm actually, I've been considering it, taking it off the market and keeping it for myself, because it's a comfortable guitar. I love the neck. It's got a nice fat neck on it, and I love those P90s. They clean up really nice, and when I want to dig in, I can. And there's not one tone on my last record that I can't get pretty close to with that guitar. So yeah, I'm digging P90s. PRS Soap Bar 2 had one. Yeah, so I can't make comments about those things about PR. So that would be the interesting thing. That's what I would get a PRS for, is just to see how its pickups. Because again, that's the thing, the pickups going through my good amp using quality strings. Yeah, the PRS Soap Bar. Yeah, I'm familiar. I know that. I strummed that one myself in Bangkok. It may be on one of these videos where I picked that up. That it kind of turns you off of him a little bit. If PRS guitars were in the back of my closet, mental closet before, they really back in the back of the closet. They're behind the cobwebs. The cobwebs are even in front of them now, because I don't like this. I don't like degrading people, not really having any substantial argument to back up that degrading, and these adversarial type, conversations with, that are self-serving. I find it, if you have a good product, you know, you don't have to do this stuff. You don't have to denigrate somebody in order to bring yourself up. Whenever you're denigrating another man in order to bring yourself up, then you're on a house of straw. You've built your house on straw. You don't denigrate another man in order to bring yourself up. You either have a good argument or you don't. If your argument is predicated by denigrating another person, then what are you? And that's really it, guys. That's what this boils down to. Seriously. And as old as he is, you would think that he would know that. I would never denigrate another man in order to try to raise myself up. Men don't do that. A real man doesn't do that. I'm sorry, but that's how personal it is with me with this because a real man wouldn't do that. And to call uh, Mr. Lil a guy in his underwear and on the internet and doesn't knows how, it's like f you, Paul. PRS 5708s are the best pickup they got. Okay, I will. Maybe I can buy a pair, and just put those in something and do it that way instead of having to buy the whole PRS. Maybe I will try to invest in buying a set of these PRS 5708s. I might look into that. But a real man doesn't bring himself up by denigrating another man. So, and that's what I would have said if I had been in that audience. That I would have pointed that out to him. Security would have had my ass out there in 5 seconds after I made that statement, but at least it had been out there. Or men don't do that. So just like I said, he just it's kind of slimy, kind of used car salesman ish, and it's just unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. So I thought I would share that with you guys tonight on the Wednesday night hump about these absolutely two perfect PRS guitars. They're perfect, but they have no soul. Sounds like a stripper I knew once in Bangkok. But anyway, I digress. I want you guys to have yourselves a lovely rest of the week. We will have an unboxing video that I will be filming tomorrow as the delivery comes in, and I will be putting that up on Friday or Saturday. Um, we will be back here again on Sunday. Hopefully, by then, my eye will not be. Yeah, I thought you would like that one, Mickey. Uh, that's actually, the kind of girl you want. Too perfect. No. You ever hear that Prince song, "Girl in My Dreams"? Alan Crandall, if your PR is curious, I would say stick to S2. You have to have an American or just the SC upgrade with some work. Well, that was my question. Are people upgrading? Been on Mark. Thanks, Mike. Cheers, folks. Hope my eye gets better. Yeah. Finish here. Have a good. I really feel like that South Park character, with the runestone, because his eye is, pretty crooked. She's got that soul, but she's got my money. she's got no soul, but she's got my money. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right, I will check you guys later. Look forward for my regular channel for that unboxing. I'm gonna call it. It's really gonna be like Groundhog's Day because I'm unboxing the exact same guitars that I did last time, except for two different models. But anyway, check that out coming up here. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, stock is cool. Again, like I said, I'm not arguing one way or another. That's if Paul was talking about somebody vibing with it or not, I could get with that again, guys, just to wrap this up. But that's not what he's saying. He's denigrating others in order to sell his products, and that's no bueno. All right, you guys take care. Same bad time, same bad channel. This Sunday coming up. Look out for the unboxing video coming out this Friday or this weekend, and I will see all of you guys later. Take care. Night.